We trust things that feel real, even when they're not. A handwritten letter feels more personal than a typewritten one. And film grain gives us a sense of history. We don't question unless it's faked on digital stock. What we call authenticity is really just our brain decoding familiar signs, imperfections with a story. For most of human history, these marks were born from the tools themselves, uneven ink flow or celluloid flaws. But once those imperfections became valuable, they stopped being byproducts. Once you begin mimicking authenticity, you're not just recreating the past, you're commodifying it. The more convincing a fake becomes, the less value real things hold. This is where Walter Benjamin's idea of aura falls apart. Aura was once about tradition and uniqueness, but now we have algorithms that can mimic both. What does it mean when even imperfection is programmable? It means authenticity itself has become just another product, with counterfeiting as its main business model. We used to believe author was about truths, but now we know it's always been a language, a visual code that we learn and trust until someone breaks the rules. Roland Barthes pointed out how photographs carry an uncoded message of reality until they don't. When you can fake grain, handwriting, or even emotional resonance in AI-generated art, what remains real is no longer a thing, but a performance. And like any performance, it's designed to be convincing, even if we all know the trick.
Analog noise is a natural byproduct of physical signal degradation. Think hiss on tape or crackle in.
Analog media was never perfect, and that's what made it real. Film grain, the hum of a reel-to-reel tape, or the gentle pop of vinyl. These were imperfections we learned to trust as signs of presence and process. They weren't just flaws. They became cultural signatures. When you heard crackle on a record, you didn't think this is broken. You thought this was played before. These were not mistakes to be fixed. They were evidence that something had happened. Then came digital. At first, it offered sterile perfection, perfect clarity, zero noise, no degradation over time. It erased the very signs we had come to trust as proof of authenticity. But something was missing. People missed the imperfections, the response, filters. Instagram and other platforms began simulating film grain and analog flaws not out of nostalgia, but because they understood that humans crave a trace of process in their images. They're not trying to remember film. Once we trusted artifacts because they proved a medium had been used. Now, Those same artifacts are generated on command, algorithmically applied to give us the illusion of authenticity, without any actual process behind it. The arms race continues. As soon as one kind of trust marker is replicated, we begin searching for new flaws to prove something was real, only to see them copied and sold back to us. We've trained machines to spot lies, and in doing so, we've only taught them how to lie better. Every system designed to authenticate, be it voice recognition or handwriting analysis, becomes a target for exploitation. These systems don't just detect flaws, they learn from them. The more we refine our methods of verification, the more sophisticated the counterfeits become. A bot that stutters and mispronounces sounds more human than one that doesn't. And this is no longer limited to text. In war, just this week, the US Army announced that AI-driven robots are already being used in simulated combat trainings, complete with synthetic voices and digital soldiers created to test human responses under pressure. This isn't just about smarter weapons. It's about smarter deception. If a machine can mimic a real person well enough to fool an experienced soldier, then what chance do civilians have? The line between signal and noise vanishes in the process. Authenticity, once a human hallmark, we trust labor when it looks human, flawed, messy, and personal. But as machines become more capable of producing those same imperfections, authenticity gets rebranded. It's no longer proof that something is real. It's just another design choice, manufactured on demand. If a robot can mimic the brushstroke of Van Gogh or replicate the emotional cadence in your voice memos, then trust becomes an algorithmic output rather than an earned quality. The Pope recently addressed AI and was met with boos from students. Are just trying too hard. Imagine a world where sincerity is not innate but calibrated, where empathy can be quantified into emotional support algorithms. We've been conditioned to accept numbers as truth, grades, scores, metrics, as if they're objective, when in reality they reflect only the assumptions built into them. Neil Postman warned us, once you let machines take over judgment, subjectivity vanishes and we become obsessed with the precision of what can be measured. Sin becomes a statistic. We are now living in a world where even sincerity has grades. Every interaction we have is filtered through systems that assign value to certain behaviors shaping how we express trust and who we trust. If authenticity can be simulated at scale, then the very idea of trusting someone, of believing something without evidence, becomes obsolete or, worse, suspiciously old-fashioned. Our digital systems don't just mimic human imperfection, they outsource it. They make us perform our way into legitimacy in a